Hey guys, Joe here from Line Blue Media. Sony have released a new firmware update for the FX3, which has a couple of new features. So today, I want to touch on briefly about what they are. Once you do the update, you will notice a few differences to the menu. They now have two new subcategories called Main 1 and Main 2, giving you quick access to all the important settings when shooting video like shutter speed, aperture, ISO, picture profiles, file formats, color space, LUT profiles and audio features. You'll find all this in the Main 1 menu. The Main 2 page shows some other features you can quickly access, but I want to draw your attention to a new feature called CINE EI, or Exposure Index. If you select log mode, in here you can now see some new options. You have flexible ISO, which is the normal way you would normally set your ISO in any camera. And now with the new update, you can see CINE EI options. So I've gone outside and shot a comparison using flexible ISO and the CINE EI mode. This clip is set at ISO 800. Exposure index is set at 800 as well. You can see the highlight detail is lost in the distance, so it's pretty blown out. I'll now switch to another clip which has an ND filter and is now bringing back our highlights. We are still using a base ISO of 800 and the exposure index is also at ISO 800. Now we go to the next clip, which you can see that the detail in the highlights are retained, and the difference is now I've set the exposure index to ISO 3200 while keeping the base ISO at 800. We still have the ND filter on, but what we're getting is more information in the highlights, but we're not crushing the shadows. The highlights are rolling off below the clipping point in the waveform, as you can see. Here is a side-by-side comparison, as you can see on the right-hand side. By pushing the exposure index to 3200, we're gaining an extra 2 stops of dynamic range. And we are getting more dynamic range in the highlights by setting it to 3200 EI. By adding the ND filter, it brings the midtones back down, the shadows up, and we also retain the highlights without losing detail. There are a couple more new features that I haven't had a chance to play with yet, so you can now add your own custom LUTs via the SD card. I hope this made sense. For any questions, leave a comment. But remember, behave, make good decisions. Peace out.